Welcome back to the Catnip Podcast. My name is Grace. Today is Friday, September 15th, which is crazy that we're halfway through September already. But anyway, this is a podcast about knitting and sometimes spinning and books and baking and cats and lots of different things, but specifically knitting because that is what I love to do the most. And I've said that several weeks in a row, so I feel like that is the new saying of the podcast. So that's cool. Like always, you can find all the things that I talked about linked in the show notes. They will be on my blog, or if you're on YouTube, they'll be linked. The link to my blog will be down below. There is also all my various social medias. There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Ravelry. And I can't lift up my pinky because that is the last finger holding up my teacup. So those things are there if you want to go follow me. There's also a Ravelry podcast group that I am terrible at posting in, but there is one if you'd like to join it. If you go to Ravelry and click on the groups tab, it should pop up if you search the Catnip Podcast. Getting out of order here, but that's okay. There's also an online yarn store where you can buy some yarn that I've hand dyed. That is the catnetyarns.bigcartel.com. And both those things will be linked in the description of the YouTube video if you are on YouTube, or if you are on my blog, that'll also be linked down below. So don't worry about that. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. And if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for trying this podcast out. I hope you enjoy it. Today you are in luck because I have come up with a list of 10 things that you might not know about me because there have been a lot of new people. And so rather than having to go back to the very beginning to learn all the various details about me, which I like doing that sometimes, but that might be a little creepy. I might be a little creepy doing that, but if you want to do that, that's super cool. But also, I'm going to give you 10 facts about myself today, in addition to knitting. So, fun times are ahead. Like always, I have my trusty cup of tea or a beverage of some sort, and this is one of my favorite mugs, and I'm going to show you it up close. I've definitely had this. I've used this many a time on the podcast, but I haven't used it in a while, and I forgot how happy it makes me because it's literally like cute little alpacas, and they look so happy, and I love it, and it's pink, and I think I got this from Redbubble or something like that. I don't know if they still have them, but I will do some digging and see if I can find it and put it in the show notes, and if not, I do apologize, but I will do my best to try and find it for you guys. Anyway, so I do have my trusty cup of tea. I have normally have a beverage of some sort, so if you would like to go and grab something tasty to drink, whether it be hot or cold, or not even a drink, maybe a meal, lunch, a snack, I don't know, maybe some craft as well, that would be cool, and you can come back and join me for some crafty chat. So, like I said before in the intro, that I will be going over random facts about me that you might not know. If you are a newer viewer, or if you just watched the past couple episodes, you might not know these things about me. I also made sure that none of these things are knitting related, so these are very specific cool things to know. I don't know about you, but I like knowing little facts about the podcasters that I watch. So I think that, to me, that makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable because I feel like I know that person a little bit better. So I thought that I would do that for you guys if you guys are interested in that, or if you feel like that enhances your podcasting experience. But I'll do that at the end. So if you're not interested, you can just totally skip over it. In the meantime, I will talk about the knitting. Again, not very much. Again, two of the things are the same things that have been the two things the past several weeks. Did that make sense? I don't know. But I have one additional thing, so that's cool. It's not new. You have seen it before. You've seen it a lot. So my knitting has been really just kind of plugging along. I'm making progress. It's just, it doesn't seem very exciting. So because of that, I do apologize, but I'm getting stuff done. I also have been reading like nobody's business. I finished a really great book that I'll talk about later. So yes, let's get into the knitting discussion. Also, there is a very good chance that this episode will be a lot shorter. I know I keep saying that and it never actually is. I have a text message. I do apologize. So where was I? Oh yes, so I keep saying that these episodes are going to be shorter than normal and they actually aren't really. So I do apologize about that, and I know I don't want to be one of those people that's just like, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry about that, and then it never actually happens. But this one might be shorter. We'll see. I don't know. Who knows? It depends on how long I ramble on about. But anyway, so now let's get to the knitting. So the first thing that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to try and arrange it so secrets are not given away, it is the test knit that I'm working on, which I am loving. It is so much fun. I love it. It's the best. Okay, we're just going to show you this little piece right here. So, I think I showed it for the first time maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was given the opportunity to test knit a brioche shawl for the marvelous Charlotte Borey, which again, I do not know if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. If not, I do apologize, but that is how it is spelled. So it is a test knit, so you cannot, I'm not going to show you the entire shape of it, but I'm just going to show you this little bit right here. This is one side. Also, check it out, I painted my fingernails. Look at that. I am put together today, unlike last week. Anyway, so this is what the brioche looks like. What am I doing? There we go. And occasionally we have these little blossom bud things. Leaves. I think I decided I called them leaves last week. I still don't know what they are technically. I don't know if they're called something in brioche, but so this is the one side, because in brioche you have two sides, or two color brioche you have two sides. That is one side. And in just a minute I'll talk about the yarn. And then here's the other side. Which I think is super fun, and it is literally just so squishy. Like, I knew that brioche was squishy because the little brioche that I have done obviously ends up squishy because that's what it is. that would make sense. But I have not done an entire like shawl or anything out of just brioche because I have not taken the time to do it. But now I'm doing a test knit, so it works out perfectly. But I love how squishy it is. It is literally the most cushy thing ever. So I'm really, really loving this. It is such a pleasure to knit. I'm really getting into the hang of like patterns and stuff, and I'm figuring out more of like when the increases happen, when I do like the special row where we do the more increases for the little leafy bud thing, whatever we're calling it, I don't know. Another really fun thing about this test knit is that I got to try, or I'm getting to try out yarn that I have never used before. And so Charlotte had put together a collab with the yarn company Cosmic Strings, and they are based out of Edinburgh, which is super cool. And so we got to, or we were assigned, we voted on our favorite colors, and then we were assigned colors, and these were the ones that I ended up with. This one is called Misty, and this one is called Marshmallow. And I love this yarn so much, and like obviously it does help that it is super cool yarn and it does come from overseas, and I've never knit with it, and the people are super nice, and they have an amazing Instagram feed. All of those things are factors, but also I am loving knitting with this yarn. It is super wonderful. It's not splitty at all. It's just so nice. I love it. I love it. So if you have the opportunity, or if you happen to see Cosmic Strings anywhere available to you, I highly, highly recommend it. It is beautiful, gorgeous yarn, and they have so many other amazing colorways. I highly recommend checking out their Instagram feed because it's a lot of fun. So that'll be linked in the show notes. So yes, This is the test knit. It's called Bathwick. I don't know if I said that. It's the Bathwick shawl by Charlotte Bory, and it's test knit. I don't know when it is coming out, but once I know that, I will let you guys know. And there's that. That is my first knitting project. The second thing will come as no surprise to literally anybody, but you see this yarn, you might recognize this yarn, you see this blob, you might recognize this blob. This is the Veronica cardigan. I'm not done with it. Last week I said I'd hope I'd be done with it, but no, that didn't happen. Also because there is a deadline on the test knit, so I can't be too hard on myself about this. But I got so much progress done. I like finished a huge part of the decreases. I'm looking at it and not showing you, and I'm just talking to you. So let's just show you and then it'll make a lot more sense. So I finished, you can kind of see the decrease. Ooh, this yarn smells so good. I'm a yarn smeller. I know a lot of people, not every knitter likes to smell yarn, but a large majority of us do. I love smelling yarn. It makes me really happy. So judge me, don't judge me. I love smelling yarn, and I will continue to smell yarn for my entire knitting life. That is for sure. Oh, it smells so good. Anyway, so back to decreases. That's what we're really talking about. Decreases started down here somewhere, and you can see that very neat decrease edge as this part becomes smaller. And so I finished a certain amount, and then I cast off the back, so I now have like matching. This is not very helpful. Can you see that? I have sides on either end, and I have the ability to kind of see what I'm going to be attaching where. And then I moved this decrease marking marker to do more decreases for a lot more time. That was very improperly said, but you know what I mean. I have a lot more decreases to do. So yes, this is definitely my reading knitting right now. Although yesterday I did work on something else in addition to this, because I was racing library deadlines. But yes, so I have like 10 handful of decrease repeats, I should say, that I need to do. Although I will say the rows are much shorter. Do we see how short this row is? It's awesome. So nice. So it's going much more quickly, and obviously I'm decreasing stitches, so there are one less stitch every like whatever row. Which is very nice. So I am making a lot of progress. I did a lot of progress. I read a lot. I did good things. So literally this evening after my husband gets home from work, we're hopping in the car and we're going to Tulsa, Oklahoma to celebrate a wedding reception thing for my cousin, which is super exciting. We are very excited about it. But of course that means knitting time in the car, and so I hope to make good progress on this and maybe even cast it off in the car. I am planning on bringing other things because since it will be later, it will be getting dark, and since it's fall, it's getting darker quicker, so I need something that I can do without looking at it or worrying about what I'm doing. This is not one of those things. I mean, it is to an extent, but I can't like really. I know I could place markers every decrease round, but that's also kind of hard to do in the dark, so you know what I mean. You knitters know what I mean. So this is the Veronica cardigan by Shannon Cook. I did not mention that. She is a wonderful human being. I love all her patterns. She keeps releasing more of them, and I want to make all of them. But that's not a bad problem to have. Always be inspired. And my yarn, this is Cascade Eco Wool and the colorway Ebony. And last week I was talking about pulling from the center, and here's a wonderful example of what it would look like if you have been knitting from a center pull ball for a long period of time. It just kind of gets hollow inside, and I just feel it's very, like, satisfying. I might be the only one who feels that way, but that's how I feel about these. And then you can pick them up really easy, and it's just like so good. It's the little things. Little things. Anyway, so this is going to be a very slouchy cardigan. I am so excited. Last week I said my mom finished hers, which is super exciting. I am so glad she finished hers. It was supposed to be a knit along between her and I, and obviously I'm very behind, but that's okay. I'm glad she's finished hers. So I'm going to be working on mine. I will be seeing her this weekend, so unfortunately I will not be able to wear mine. I don't think she's bringing hers yet, or I don't think she's bringing hers because it's not really going to be that cold. So there's no need for it. But hopefully in the future, when I do get mine done, we can take pictures together, and that'll be just super fun. So, yay. Tea break. So yes, this is a massive project. It is definitely a blanket on my lap whenever I knit on it. It is huge and massive, but I love it, and I love this yarn. I love this yarn so much. There's another sweater that I want to make. I don't have any pictures, so I'll just link it in the show notes, but it's called the Cathedral something. It might be just the Cathedral cardigan, but it is, again, very slouchy, but it's just like perfectly cabled, and it's so beautiful, and I might be able to use this Cascade Eco Wool, excuse me, so it's just a matter of picking which color, and it's just so amazing. I love it so much. It is definitely one of my go-to yarns for sweaters, for sure. So, I highly recommend. If you've never knit with it, definitely give it a try. It is a wonderful yarn. So the last thing that I worked on this week is an old project. It is very old. It was a knit along. It was a mystery knit along. I fell very behind. For a while I was doing real good, but I fell behind. So I'm still working on it. This ended a while ago, so no judgment. This is the Starting Point Mystery Knit Along by Joji Locatelli. This is one side. And there's another side that looks identical to this, just not as much progress because you knit it in, like, you knit one side, then you knit the other side. So this is by Joji Locatelli, another designer that I love and adore. Let me show you the other side. Needle is stuck everywhere. This is what I have so far on this side. So as you can see, yeah, so you can see my progress here. I am still loving this pattern. It is still a wonderful joy to knit. It's very easy to knit. There are huge garter sections, which make for really good reading, knitting. Knitting while I read. Whatever. You know what I mean. I knit while I read. So this is good stuff because it is so easy, so simple. The pattern is very easy to memorize for the garter because you increase and decrease in certain places, and that's it for like 10 repeats or something like that. So it's super good. And then you break up these sections with this very beautiful like eyelet row, and I just finished this section, I believe. So I'm getting ready to start on a new thing, and then that will finish clue 3, but then I also have to do it on the other side. So it'll probably be a while, or who knows, I might power through it in the car ride. This is going to be one of my travel knitting projects. So yes, let's just go over the yarns in no particular order. This one, actually let's start here. This one right here is called Kitten. This is the same yarn I used for my old romance cardigan, also by Joji Locatelli. This is Madeline Toshmo Light, which is the one with the mohair in it. These little eyelet rows are Manos del Uruguay on the Fino base in the Rosewater colorway. Can I remember all of them? This one right here is a beautiful rosy mauve. It is the same base as the lighter Rosewater colorway one. Manos del Uruguay. Fino in the Havisham colorway. So that's super cool. Then we have this beautiful orangey color, which is Madeline Tosh BFL, I believe. It's either BFL or Molite. I don't remember which one. This is called Flannel Blanket. And then this one is either Madeline Tosh Molite or BFL. I think it's BFL. It feels different than this one. So this is the Molite, this is BFL. And this is in the colorway Toner Cartridge. So beautiful. I have all the information on my Ravelry project page, which will be linked in the show notes, so don't worry if you want to go over what I just went over. If I made any mistakes, you can go and look at my project. You can go look at my project page, and it'll all be listed there, and it'll all be correct. So there is that. It's a wonderful knit. It's very easy, like I was saying. It's very mindless, but there's enough to kind of like just always keep you interested. So, and it's another one that I just really want to finish. I'm just so excited to be able to wear. You may, if you haven't seen what the finished object looks like, you may be confused as to why there are two parts and why do these two parts look like this. It's because we will eventually be joining them together to create one big long scarf stole type thing, and it just looks so beautiful. Everybody's looks gorgeous, and so I'm just so excited. I love my colors. I think my colors will look really good on me. So yes, I am. Every time I work on it, I'm always motivated just to like keep on working on it and get it done, and then other things come up and I get distracted. So there is that. That is always a problem, but that is a common knitter's problem, so let's not judge too hard. So yes, Starting Point by Joji Locatelli. Highly recommend. Very easy. Very, very easy. So yes. Also, because I have to carry around 5 balls of yarn and the 2 sides, I need a relatively large bag. So what bag am I using? I'm using my trusty Fringe Fringe Supply Co. bag. It's a combination of words and I don't think I'm getting the order correct. But it's one of these bags that literally everybody has, the cool bags. And everybody puts their pins on them. So I have put pins on mine. Some of these, obviously all of them are special for some reason. Like for instance, this one, apologies for them tinkling. This one is special because I got this during my study abroad when I went to go visit the Paris Opera House in Paris, which is just like so cool. If you're a fan of the opera fan, then like that's just mind-blowing. We also went and saw Box 5. I had my picture taken in front of it. It was amazing. I loved it. So that's special. I also have another one that's very special to me. My mom gave it to me, and it's this little guy right here, and his arm moves back and forth, which is super cool. So he waves to you. He's one of those little, I don't know what they're called, but they're those cats that you see everywhere that their hands are moving back and forth. 2 more of these pins came in a set, and they are from one of my favorite audio podcasts because these 2 ladies are just a joy and a pleasure to listen to. They are from the podcast Rosie and Jessica's Day of Fun. I do apologize. The glare. There we go. And it also came with, ooh, where am I? Ooh, wrong side. Doing this backwards is tough, people. It's this gray one right here. Ugh, excuse me. This gray one right here. And it says, "Oh my greyhounds," which is something they say on their podcast. They are so wonderful. I have listened to their podcast since pretty much the very beginning, which is super cool just to be a a listener through the years. I highly recommend their podcast if you like things like top 5 lists of stuff and songs of the week and things that they're making and just random stuff like that. It is so wonderful. I laugh a lot during each episode, so I highly recommend it. Rosie and Jessica's A Day of Fun. So that is all I have for knitting this week. Not a whole lot of knitting. I talked about future knitting that I want to do. It's a very light week. Book-wise, I finished Catherine of Aragon by Alison Weir. It was amazing, so good, fascinating because it's told from Catherine of Aragon's like point of view. She was the first wife of Henry VIII, which is just fascinating, just all that, the Tudors and everything that's connected to that. And so most of the stories that I've heard and read and all that kind of stuff, seen because of like the Tudor TV show and all that kind of stuff, you see it from like Henry's point of view, or you see it just as like an overview of like everybody, but there's not as much about Catherine of Aragon. And so it was so interesting to learn more about her, where she came from, like what her experiences were like. Obviously it is historical fiction, so it's not like 100% accurate, but it did seem pretty like historically accurate, excuse me. I have a thing when I'm reading historical fiction. Here's a fun fact about me that is not part of this list that I'm about to go over soon. But when I read historical fiction, I usually have at least 4 or 5 Wikipedia pages open of these people that I'm reading about, so I can kind of connect them together, see what's also going on during that time, who their parents are if they're not mentioned, who they're related to. And then another thing that I've always done, I don't know, not always, but like I've done for a long time. If I'm reading historical fiction, and I'm like super passionate about that time period, I will search for music in that time period, and so I'll listen to the music that they would have been listening to and like would have been composed during that time. Helps me fully immerse myself in the historical stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. That sounds super nerdy, but no shame because I love it. It's so much fun. And I also really just like the music that was written in the Tudor time era, which is also a very nerdy thing to say, but I really like it. So I will pick a composer in that time period and then just plug it into the Spotify radio, or Pandora would work as well. And it'll play through people that are like it, people in the same time era, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun. I really enjoy it. And then when I'm reading things that are not historical fiction, it's just pretty much whatever, music-wise. I like having things to listen to when I read. It's kind of, it almost creates a movie in my mind. Does that make sense? Because I have like the story in front of my eyes, and then I have like the images that I'm imagining in my head, and then I have a soundtrack coming to me from wherever, Spotify, Pandora, whatever, iTunes, whatever. So it just kind of creates like this big movie, and I love it. I really get into reading, if you couldn't tell. I love reading. So, yes. Also, a side note, little baby reading that I did, I read very quickly 2 of the in-between books of in the Princess Diaries series. I am now listening to book number 8, I believe. So I listened to 7 1/2 and then 7 3/4, or I read that last night. It literally took me like 2 hours, maybe not even that, for both of them. They're very short, they're less than 100 pages. So I read those. Now I am listening to book number 8, which is really exciting. I don't know how many books there are in general. There might be like 10 or 11 maybe, I don't remember. But I'm getting close to finishing the series, which is really exciting. I've never finished the entire series before, so it has been quite an enjoyable experience. They are very fluffy, very fluffy, and I truly believe that everybody needs a little bit of fluffy reading in their lives. whatever fluffy reading is defined for you. I think it's super fun. I think you should like enjoy it. So no judgment that I'm reading Princess Diaries because I like it and it's fun. So that's also what I've been reading and I'm enjoying it a lot. So now we have reached the end of the general standard content of the podcast, and we're going to get into some little bit different stuff that I don't always do. And I wrote out a list of things that I want to tell you. 10 random facts about me that you might not know, especially if you are a new viewer, but even if you're an old viewer, you might also not know these things about me. None of these are knitting related, so fun times. Thing number 1, I am 24 years old and my birthday is the day after Valentine's Day, so that's cool. Thing number 2, I just got married. My husband and I got married in January of this year, so we literally just celebrated 8 months yesterday, so that is super cool, or on the 14th. So that has been very wonderful, and we currently live in Dallas. Thing number 3, back when I was 12 or 13, or maybe 11 or 12 or something like that, my family moved from Ponca City, Oklahoma to Houston, which is where my parents live now, and where my husband's family is from as well. So we are very much Houston based. Houston is a wonderful city, as is Ponca City, but I'm very biased towards that because I kind of half grew up there, half grew up in Houston, so both are wonderful places. Reason number 4, I am a Fightin' Texas Aggie of class of 2016. Whoop! Thing number 5, did I say reason before? It's not a reason. Thing number 5, if I could pick any food that I could have for the rest of my life, it would be pizza, without a doubt, no hesitation. Pizza is my favorite food of all time, except for Hawaiian pizza. Pineapple does not belong on pizza. There is just no question. No pineapple belongs on any pizza. This is a debate question because I know that people fall in both categories. I am one of those that does not believe that is a thing. So, believe what you will about Hawaiian pizza. You can have your own personal preference, personal opinion, whatever. I don't agree with that, so, but I do love pizza. All pizza except for that pizza is delicious. Thing number 6, I was homeschooled all the way from the beginning of school up to high school graduation, which is super cool. My mom did an amazing job, and my dad, and all my other various teachers that I had during that time, so that's super cool. Thing number 7, during that time of school, I took piano lessons, I took violin lessons, and I took voice lessons. But I took piano lessons by far the longest. I think I played the piano for maybe 13 or 14 or 15 years. So, but I still know how to play the violin. Obviously, I still know how to sing. I love singing. If you know me, if you've been around me at any point, you might have heard me singing because I sing all the time. Thing number 8. Here are some of my favorite TV shows of all time. Number 1 would be Project Runway. You cannot beat Tim Gunn. I love Project Runway so much. I have mentioned it on this podcast though. Show number 2 is Glee. I recently watched the entire thing because it was on Netflix. I had never seen it before and it is just so good. I love musicals. I love that kind of stuff. I love singing. It's my kind of show. TV show number 3 is The Great British Bake Off, and no, we cannot get like it up to date as the people over in England do, unless you find it on some kind of like sketchy website. It is a wonderful TV show, and I love it so much whenever I can get it. And then, of course, I would not be myself if I did not mention this TV show. TV show number 4 is Jeeves and Wooster with Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry. I grew up watching this TV show, and it has a very special place in my heart. I love it so much. I quote it all the time. I have friends that we can quote things back and forth to, and it is just so good. one of the best TV shows out there. So those are my favorite TV shows. Thing number 9, I have siblings. I have 2 older siblings who are much, much older than I am. Both of them are married. I have an older brother who's the oldest, and then an older sister. Then there's me, and then I have a younger brother. And both my older siblings are married. So there are 2 in-laws, plus my husband, and then my younger brother. So that is my family, and then my parents. Thing number 10, and the last thing. I did ballet for pretty much not all of my, like, middle school, high school, but for a large portion of it. I love dancing, I love ballet. I have not done it in a while, and so I hope to hopefully I will be able to take classes in the near future. Fingers crossed, because that would be amazing. So those are 10 random facts that you might not have known about me. None of them are knitting related, obviously you could tell. If you have any more random questions or whatever, feel free to ask me and I will answer them. So that's super cool. I hope you enjoyed those random facts. You learned a little bit more about who I am and what I'm about outside of the podcasting world, like pizza. If I could have pizza for every meal, I would not be sad about that. So that tells you anything. And I'm sure there are even more random facts about me that I could come up with in the future, and I could do another list and do that and have an update of like, these are 10 more random facts about me. So that might be fun. Let me know if you enjoyed that, if you found it interesting, or if you found it boring. That's totally okay. Yep. Also, if you don't know what a Fightin' Texas Aggie is, that is someone who goes or went to Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. So, I mentioned that before, that I am an Aggie, but I did realize now looking at my list that it did not mention that just saying you're a Fightin' Texas Aggie doesn't necessarily mean anything if you don't know what that is. So if you don't know what that is, I went to Texas A&M University, so cool story. Now we have come to the end of all the content that I had planned for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, if you were a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and spending time with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for trying out the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I hope you learned something about me, maybe. Hopefully that wasn't boring or whatever. Also, like always, like I said at the beginning, all the various things that I talked about will be linked in the show notes. They will be on my blog, or they'll be down below if you are on YouTube. Also, all my various social medias will be linked in both those places. There's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Ravelry. I am most active on Instagram by far. I am there all the time. So if you want to be up to date on me on a daily, weekly basis, follow me on Instagram for sure, because that is where I am active. There's also a Ravelry podcast group. If you go to Ravelry, click on the groups tab and search the Catnip podcast, it should pop up. I am super bad about posting in there, but if you'd like to join it, you are more than welcome to do so. There's also an online yarn store where you can buy some yarn that I've hand dyed. I hear people talking. You are interrupting my podcast flow, people. Anyway, there is an online yarn store where you can buy some yarn that I've hand dyed. That is the catnityarns.bigcartel.com. And yes, I think that is everything that needs to be said in regards to normal stuff. People are getting really loud now, so that must be a sign that it is time to bring this episode to a close. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you've had a wonderful week. If you have crafty plans, I hope they're successful. Hopefully my travel knitting will be successful in the car, and maybe a little during this weekend. We will see. So hopefully that is a thing. I hope you're reading good books right now. If you're reading anything, I am going through my library list of things according to their due date. So I have not like a intense list, but it's definitely gotta like hurry up, gotta read those books before they get returned to the library, because wait lists are long. That is a thing. Anyway, that was irrelevant to the end of the podcast. I should have said that earlier, but now you know, so now we're good to go. Anyway, so I think that is it, and I guess I will see you guys next week. Bye!